Frank Smith, mate, thanks for your time. A good show coming up for Matchroom here in Australia. How excited are you to sort of launch this deal with a meaningful fight?
Yeah, I can't wait. It's exciting to finally be here with a real plan and structure. I was talking about we started with Brock Jarvis against Liam Parrow, probably I think in 2022 or 2021, around that sort of period was our first show in Australia. It was always a market where we felt there was huge opportunity. So to be there now with Foxtel, KO main event, the biggest platform in Australia, in Australian boxing, it's exciting times and looking forward to launching it with a big night in Melbourne with Sky Nicholson, Mariah Turner, Terra Moana on the card as well, Jake Wiley, so much great talent. I'm looking forward to it. It's the start of something new. And this is what, we've done so many great things over the years, but this is the kind of thing that excites us, is starting something new and creating a success from it.
What looking from the outside, what observations have you sort of made about the Australian boxing landscape? What do you think works? What do you think doesn't work? What are you hoping to change, I guess?
Look, there's a lot of great fighters and there's a lot of support from the fight fans. I think one of the key differences is the pay-per-view element of shows in terms of the number of pay-per-views and the types of pay-per-views. I've seen like pay-per-view fights for 8 rounders, for example. We've obviously seen there's been a huge crossover appeal in the past as well in Australian boxing. But we feel there's a lot of opportunity there. It's somewhere, especially there's a lot of government funding as well, a lot of opportunity to bring over big names, big global names to the market. It's not something you get everywhere. So we're excited about what the opportunity is. And, I've always said we've had a great stable of Australian fighters even prior to having a deal in place. So, the job now is to go and expand that stable, bring in new young fighters that we can build up for the long term.
And you mentioned Terra Moana. There has been some criticism about the level of competition that he's faced. You had some criticism. Ben Whitaker as well sort of faced similar sort of sentiment. Any comment on that?
Look, it's a tough sport to please everyone, and sometimes I say maybe these guys are just very good, like that's the reality of it. Maybe they're just very, very good. And they're coming in against people. Like Ben Whitaker at the weekend, as you say, went in against an opponent that went 10 rounds with Lyndon Arthur and put him down. So Ben Whitaker's a standout talent. I believe that with Terra Moana as well. But I think also we have to do a job to try and get the right opponents for Terra Moana to prepare him for when he steps up in the levels. Because he's still young, he's still fresh, he's still in the early stages of his career. We believe he can be a world heavyweight champion, undoubtedly, but we've got to build that, over a period of time. I think that comes with everything, both inside the ring, outside the ring in his training camps as well. But we're excited about what the future holds. And look, we're in a game where knocking people out gets views, gets people talking, and it entertains people. So it's what people love to see in this sport. So long may Terra Moana continue to do that in the first round.
Mate, is he someone that you can sort of build the sort of Matchroom brand here in Australia? Obviously, other promoters like No Limit have got, names like Tszyu who sort of flies the flag down here. Who's the guy that Matchroom will sort of focus on?
Yeah, look, 100%. I definitely believe that with, everyone loves heavyweight boxing, of course, and I definitely believe Terra Moana has all of the attributes inside the ring, but then with the personality, the character, you've seen it with his ring walks. He's just a great guy. And I think we've got to continue to build him. We've got 7 shows a year. I look at building Terra Moana over 3 of those headline shows a year over the next 12-month period, as he then looks to build into the pay-per-view shows as well. And he's not far off of that, but that comes with building the level of opponent against him. So we're very excited about what the future holds with Terra Moana. He can become a global star of the sport, but I think that starts at home as well.
And what's an update? You got any update for us on Lewis Crocker and Liam Paro? That fight sort of purse bids a couple of months ago, but we haven't sort of heard much since.
Yeah. Look, we're waiting for No Limit. I think the IBF set a deadline of today for them to send contracts through for a final date. I think they're looking at a date in June or July for that fight. So hopefully we get that through today and we get that up and running. Lewis is ready to go. It's going to be a brilliant fight. I believe Lewis Crocker and the Aussie fans don't go against me, but we promote Lewis Crocker. We've worked with Liam in the past, but I believe Lewis Crocker does a job. Comes over there, gets the win, retains his belt, and goes into big unifications from there. But hopefully news today on that for a date in June or July.
All right. Just a few more topics for you, mate. The Opetaia, any regrets about how that all transpired, or anything you'd do different with Opetaia?
No, look, I've spoken about it a lot. I'm not going to sit here and be blasé that we want to lose fighters. Of course, you want to work with great fighters, but if the opportunities don't align, if the what you can do for someone doesn't align with what they can get elsewhere, they're going to do what's best for them, understandably so. So I'm not going to sit here and say happy we lost Jarptar. No, but boxers come and go. He might not be a Zuffa forever. Fighters may not stay with us forever. Fighters may not stay with another promoter forever. That's the reality of the sport and the business we're in. I wish him the best of luck. Obviously, I've seen from the outside the belt situation, everything going on there, but it's kind of the price you pay when you go with these guys who openly say they don't care about the belts. So look, it's one of those things, and like I say, I wish him the best of luck in his future with them.
Justice Huni. What's the latest on him? He's obviously got a fight left with you guys, and there was talk about Anthony Joshua perhaps fighting Justice as well.
Yeah, I don't think the Anthony Joshua fight is realistic. I'm not sure where that one came from or that talk started. Look, I think we, ahead of his fight with Fraser Clark a few weeks back, we agreed new terms, and that process was just going through as to an extension to his deal. He's definitely someone we will look to headline one of these shows in short order in Australia. He's coming off the back of a great win against Fraser Clark. He in the fight against Fabio Wardley was winning nearly every round, and obviously we know how it ended, but he wasn't far off from becoming that WBO world champion that Fabio Wardley now holds. So he's got a big opportunity. He's in a great place, and we've got to keep building him into those big fights over the next 12 months.
Mate, obviously, when you guys entered the US market, there was a bit of criticism about Eddie sort of came in with quite a spring in his step and ruffled a few feathers there. How are you going to approach this Australian sort of venture? You signed the deal with KO and Foxtel. There's other big promoters down here. Are you guys going to go head to head? How do you sort of see that?
Yeah, look, I think the reality is you're always going to have competitive. We're always going to be competitors. So you can have a good relationship, but you're always going to be competitors in what you're trying to do. The difference is here we're both on the Foxtel platform. We both have deals with them, so we have to align with what ultimately our broadcaster wants. But we're going to do what's in the best interest of building our business. For the long term. I think the difference is in the US, you have to come in, you have to make a lot of noise. You have to make a big splash. It's a huge market there. Australia is different. Australia is somewhere where I feel we've already built some kind of presence over a number of years, by doing shows. But it's very hard when you're in and out to build a long-term structure, because you're there one night, then 12 months you're gone, and then you're back. Here we're talking about 7 shows over a year period, which we're going to build something sustainable for the long term. So, it's going to be interesting. I'm sure there's going to be back and forth. That is boxing ultimately, but we're in it, and we're going to do what's in the best interest of our broadcast partner, which is Fox, that we share with No Limit, obviously.
Would you work with No Limit apart from this Paro fight? Would you guys work together?
I wouldn't put anything past. Look, boxing's a crazy sport. You can sit here and say we're never going to do this, we're never going to do that, but the reality is, anything can happen. We're very much set, though, upon what we're looking to do, what we're looking to create. We have our own goals. We have our own brand that we're looking to build. But I wouldn't put anything past, in the market, anything happening.
All right, last one. What should fans expect to see next week in Melbourne? And I guess what would a win for Sky Nicholson do for her career?
Huge. A win for Sky would be huge. It sets up that undisputed fight against Ellie Scotney. It's been a dream of hers to challenge for that undisputed, title for so long now. And she's got to come through it. She's got a tough test against Mariah Turner. It's going to be a brilliant fight there. Tara Moana, KO show, as always. Jake Wiley bringing entertainment. I'm looking forward to it. It's exciting times. I can't wait to be in Melbourne. We've got our 5K run club as well on fight morning, 7:45 in Melbourne on the Wednesday morning. I'm excited to be out there. It's a beautiful locations. I always say to people who work in our office, you don't understand the places we used to do shows. And now look at us. We're flying around the world week in, week out, putting events on in the best places, and excited to kick off the partnership there and excited about what the future holds.
Nice one, mate. Appreciate your time, and I'll see you in Melbourne next week.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it. See you next week.